Happy Monday to everyone. Not long for Christmas now. This Monday is the last of these info sessions that I'm doing. Next week will be less formal, not a specific topic. Now, don't forget as well that in my last video last week, I announced that next year in January, we will continue to be doing these information sessions. However, January will be a bit special because we're raising some funds for Relay for Life for the Cancer Council. And I, back in the day, used to be a group fitness trainer. I've got my Cert 4 in fitness. So I'm going to take I'm going to do 3 live sessions at 7:30 in the morning each week in January for a gold coin donation for anyone who wants to come along to those. So check those out on our event page as well. It all goes to the Cancer Council. I'm doing floor work and yoga for myself in the mornings anyway, so all I'm doing is filming it so you can join me. Now, I'll jump straight into the topic that I wanted to cover off today, which is that either both or one of your elderly parents can no longer stay at home. And this might be something that is starting to arise for some of you, and a conversation that perhaps needs to happen over Christmas about what needs to be done to start planning for that for 2021. Now, it's really important, firstly, to look at getting an ACAS assessment, so an aged care assessment. All right, now these, you can find out more information about these through MyGov. Getting one of these assessments is the first step, because it doesn't mean that you need to take up all the things that are available for your elderly parent that are recommended in the assessment. However, once you've had the assessment done, you can then take up the things at any time. So with the aged care assessment, your parent might be rated at some particular level, and then it will say what services are available for them at the level that they come in at. So it might be that they are assessed as, yes, being able to stay at home, but they are then provided with someone a couple of days a week. They might have funding available to upgrade their bathroom, upgrade ramps, things like that. So that's what an aged care assessment does. The other thing is that the aged care assessment might say, well, yes, they're now at the point where they probably should go into care, and so that is available for them. It doesn't mean you need to take it up straight away. All right, so an aged care assessment is the first step. Like I said, get a level assessed for your parents, work out what you can have access to at that level, and it doesn't mean you actually have to use all those services, but at least you've had the assessment, so when you decide to take up the services, you can. It's too late to need services and just be doing an assessment at that stage, because it takes a little while. So get the ball rolling, get the aged care assessment done. The second thing to talk about is with powers of attorney. So now this is something that we can help with. We can't do an aged care assessment, obviously, but go to MyGov to find out more about that. Now with powers of attorney, the reason you might need your parent to start thinking about these is because if they lose capacity at any point, when it's too late to get them in place. If they've already lost capacity, you can go to VCAT and apply for an administration or guardianship order. However, while your parents are well, it's better to have them actually appoint a power of attorney at the time. Now, it's probably clear for you that when someone does a will, the executors they appoint in the will, those powers don't come into effect until after someone passes away, and then the will starts. So if the executors don't have any power while someone's alive, that's the place for the power of attorney. So the powers of attorney provide some authority to make decisions for someone while they're still alive. You can have all sorts of conditions around that. You can have multiple people acting on all sorts of different things at any one time. So there's plenty of flexibility to build in whatever situation there might be. So aged care assessment number 1, powers of attorney number 2. And the third thing that I wanted to talk about was actual options with a residence. because a granny flat arrangement is available, and Centrelink do recognise granny flat arrangements. But obviously there are other ways, other forms of residential care as well. So a retirement village with a lower standard of care, where people are just checked on, might be all that your parent needs at that point. But a lot of elderly parents do get scared of having to sell the family home. And unfortunately, that can keep them at home for longer than they need to be, whereas they could move into a residential retirement village situation and have a better level of care. But again, going back to the aged care assessment, if they're able to have services in their own home, then that might alleviate some of those problems. Now, a retirement village, there are different kinds. There are some where you own the building but rent the site that they're on. And at least you can then sell the building at the end if they need to move on or after they've passed away. There are places where you actually have a title on the unit that you buy in the retirement village. There are places where you own units in the retirement village corporation rather than the unit itself. And there are places where you essentially buy a lease for a similar price as you would for owning the title. Now, those three options usually come with conditions that the retirement village is the only person allowed to resell the unit when someone needs to move or pass on, and they tend to refurb the whole thing. So you could lose more money doing it that way. However, if it's more convenient and there is a better level of care, then that's something to assess. Then you look at an actual aged care facility and the level of care that's required. And again, elderly parents get worried that they need to sell the house to go into those sort of places to pay a bond. Paying a bond is not compulsory though, so it is good to bear in mind that when someone is looking to go into aged care, they have the choice of paying a daily rate or paying a bond. The bond is not eaten into much. It's invested. They use the interest that is earned on that investment to pay for your parents' care. There are caps around all of this. So only a certain amount can be paid for in daily fees as well over the life of your parent, and there's different parts of the daily fee as well. So there's a whole lot to look into. As part of the aged care assessment, they can also give you more advice around this, and it's also worthwhile going to a financial planner who specialises in aged care so they can look at the best options. Is it better to go into a retirement village where you own the building? Is it better that they go into a retirement village in a unit where they own the title? Or is it better that they go into an aged care facility and pay a bond or pay a daily rate? You don't have to make these decisions yourself without information. There are people who specialise in giving that information and helping make sure that it works well, particularly when it's both your parents at the same time who are needed. And it's particularly important to get financial advice when both parents need to go into some kind of residential facility, because they can be assessed differently or individually to their detriment if it's not handled properly. And they could have to pay a whole lot more than if they were assessed properly. And then you've got your granny flat arrangement. Now, this will only be suitable for a small amount of people. However, with Centrelink, there are gifting rules. And when someone offloads an asset or a whole lot of cash, they are then deemed to still have that for 5 years. So it's a penalty that Centrelink puts on people who are trying to offload assets to get a higher rate of pension. However, if it is a genuine granny flat arrangement and someone pays to build on an extension or pays to put an individual unit on someone else's land, then it is a Centrelink acknowledges that that is a justified expense. It's not getting rid of assets. You are paying, it's usually a child that owns the land, so the elderly parent is paying the child to secure their accommodation and care from the child. And as I said, Centrelink recognises this, and you won't have that gifting rule penalty if you went that way. However, again, that's something we can help you with, because it's important to document it correctly so that everyone's interests are protected, and that is also validly recognised by Centrelink as well. All right. So just to summarise, aged care assessment, really important. Get in there to get that assessment done, whether you take up the things available or not immediately, but at least if you've had it assessed, you can then take them up when you need to, not be scrambling to get an assessment when all of a sudden there is care that's needed. The second thing was around powers of attorney, which is something we can help with. The earlier you have those in place, the better, because when it's too late to get them in place, it's too late. And then the third was just exploring the residential options that are available, and I do really encourage people to get some financial advice around that from an expert. So there you go, whole lot of options to think about. And as I said, these are some of the conversations that might be had over Christmas or that you're thinking about that need to happen for 2021. Otherwise, I will save this video onto Facebook. If you've come in a little bit late in the live and want to go back to the beginning, I'll save it there as a permanent video. If this is something that you're watching later but then feel like it is something that is important for someone you know, please either tag their name in the comments, or you can direct message it to them if you would prefer to keep it private. I do save all these videos. There's well over 100 videos on our video tab in the Facebook page. And like I said, January is going to be slightly different, but then we'll get into from February. Every week I'll continue to do these little videos. January, we're raising money for the Cancer Council. So please come along, gold coin donation to a Facebook Live where you can do some physical activity with me. Otherwise, countdown to Christmas. We're finishing up next Tuesday, the 22nd, and I will quickly pop in here on Monday for a live, but this is the last one really substantial for the year. Again, if there's any topics that you would like me to cover off next year, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you soon.